things. What are some of the key lessons from your time at Twitter which helped and influenced the way you set up and launched Square?
There were many. I really had no aspiration to be a CEO or to be a leader in a company or even create a company. I wanted to build and use this thing, and I was so excited about that. And really, you just learn whatever you have to learn to make that work. And right now, a company is just a great vehicle to spread an idea around the world, and it allows an idea to thrive. But the idea and the purpose of our work always leads, not the company. The company is support, and the business is oxygen to that idea. So I think when you are tasked with then creating a company, you kind of want to, you tend to, or at least I did, you grow up a little bit too fast sometimes, and you try to put too much structure in place or the wrong structure in place, and that distracts you from, really the work that you absolutely need to do. And one of the interesting things, two big lessons from that time. Number one was the power of instrumentation, the power of knowing exactly what's happening within the system, and the power of transparency within the system, but also within the company. So we would go down a lot in the early days of the company because we just had no instrumentation at all. It's like driving a car, flying a plane, and not having any sense of how fast you're going, right? It's extremely dangerous. So we just didn't know what people were doing with it, how the resources were being used, and ultimately it just crashed to a halt multiple times. And little by little, we started instrumenting the system. And we built simple things that would tell us what the system is doing or how people are using it. And these seem like, of course you build dashboards, and of course you look at the data, but in the moment when you're creating these things, that's not what you put first. It's often an afterthought. And the biggest thing that solved was we stopped speculating about what was going on, and we could actually point to what was going on. And then, since we could point to it, we could fix it. And we had a ton of communication issues in the company at that time. We wouldn't talk to each other in some cases, and in engineering sometimes wouldn't talk to operations. And when you have those divisions in the company, the people using the service actually see the results of it, right? So any organizational difficulty actually manifests in the service itself, and that's just ultimately rude and selfish, and you're putting your own mess in front of the people that are using your service or the customer. So as we started instrumenting the system, we had a lot healthier communication. This is a funny thing because we're building a communication company and we couldn't communicate internally. So that was number one, and the first bit of code I wrote for Square was an admin dashboard, so we could actually see everything that's happening constantly. And then number two is just how important it is to really make sure that you're building the right team dynamic. And that means hiring great people who share who share the purpose and share the vision. But it also means that we're parting ways with people who don't. And we had some people in the early days of Twitter who were just not folks who really worked well together with others. And this was probably the hardest thing for me to do as a CEO in the early days. Is I had to fire someone who had the entire system in their head. And when you're faced with that, you're like, well, I can't fire this person, because if I fire this person, then the whole system is going down and we can never get it back up. It took me a long time to do it, about 6 months, and that's a regret actually. But ultimately, when I did it, and when we were parting ways, I was crying and he was crying, and then I went back to tell the company, and we were only about 7 people, and I was crying and the company was crying, and it was at a very emotional period because we were also under a lot of stress because we were constantly going down, and now we just parted ways with a guy who knew how to bring the system back up. But something really interesting happened immediately after that. All these new leaders in the company emerged, and actually we didn't go down, and we built a lot of great practices to stay up more and more. So I think when you're just getting started, whether it's a company or organization, you try to get people really quickly, but you don't edit as much, and you don't really make sure that there's a great team dynamic. And if you don't, it can be really, really poisonous to the culture, and ultimately will block new ideas and new leadership from emerging. So constantly looking at the team and making sure that we have the right team in place is something I applied to Square as well.